So this next problem is asking us to input two numbers and output the larger of these two numbers. So we need to think carefully exactly how we're going to do this program. I'm going to start a new Python challenge. Now we need to first just go through the same process that we always do. So we need to think about what the inputs are. So we're going to input two numbers. So if we just put sensible variable names, again, we want to put them as integers, because if they are not integers, we can't compare them, we can't add them, we can't subtract them. If they're just strings, you can't really do anything with them, especially compare whether one's larger than the other. So let's have a little look. Int input, enter number 1. And we're going to do the same again. Call this one num2 and enter number 2. So now we're going to have two inputs coming in. Whatever they type in gets converted or casted into an integer. It's called casting when we take one data type, convert it to another. And we put it into this variable named num1 and this one into variable named num2. So there's two areas in memory that have been designated as num1 and num2. Okay, next thing we need to do is output the larger of these two numbers. So we need to basically do some sort of comparison. If num1 is greater than num2, we want to print just think about this for a second. Num1 is greater than. It does technically just say output the larger of these two numbers. So I'm just going to put num1 is the larger number. So this little bit of concatenation here is going to print whatever you've typed in as your number 1 and tell you that it's the larger number. And what you need to do then, two different things really, because what can happen is num2 could be bigger than num1, but they also could be the same number. So we need kind of like two different conditions here. So this could be the first time we look at an elif statement. So this is like an extra condition that we want to look at. This time we're going to do num2 greater than num1. We'll use this same comment. This time we'll put num2 as the larger number. And then what I want my else statement to be. So basically, if num1 is greater than num2, print num1. If num2 is greater than num1, print num2. And the final one is if they're equal. So I could put in if they're equal, but I'm just going to do else because it's basically the only other option that we can have. So else print the numbers are the same. So if we give this little test, let's just make sure that it works for all the logic of the actual program. Okay, really common mistake. Every time you open a bracket, so I've got opening, opening, I need to close it, and I'm missing a closing bracket there, and I'm also missing a closing bracket there. Try again. So let's enter number 1, go for 25, enter number 2, 20. Now when I press enter, it should tell me that number 1 is bigger than number 2. And it does, 25 is the larger number. So try it again. Let's do 50, and we'll make number 2 the larger number this time. It should tell me that 75 is the larger number. Yeah, now let's try the final case, which is if they're the same. So I'll put 10 and 10. The number are the same. So obviously missed a mistake there. So that's the easiest way I can think of doing that. If, elif and else gives you two separate conditions. You could, if you really wanted to, you could get rid of that and just keep it as the program like that. And if someone types in the same numbers, then they're just a bit silly, aren't they, if they're trying to work out a program that tells you about what the best number is. The other thing we could do is to create another condition and say if num1 equals num2, then we want to print that out. And we can add in our first little attempt at some sort of validation. So this is basically if they've typed in anything else, like if they've typed letters in or something by mistake, for example. You have made a mistake. So that's got our three conditions, one greater than another, another one greater than another, and num1 num equal to num2. The other way you could do it is have if num1 is greater than num2 and if num1 is less than num2. That will be a reverse of the same logic, but it will still work. And we've got this little error in, so let's have a go, see what happens. So if I just type in a word like donkey, it's not working for me. Interesting. Because I'm trying to convert that into an integer, it won't actually do anything. So we're probably best just leaving it how we had it before. We'll get into how to do a little bit more validation and errors later on.